Can you guess the topic of bacterial zoonosis?
Transmitted
From the flea or rat flea? Yes, it's plague. So we are going to talk about plague. So plague is a zoonotic disease which is caused by Yersinia pestis, and it is transmitted by infected flea bites to human. And these fleas are mainly rat fleas which are involved in disease transmission. Now this plague disease, its distribution pattern you can find in enzootic form as well as in epizootic form. Now what is meaning of enzootic and epizootic? Enzootic, it means endemic distribution of disease in animals, and epizootic means epidemic distribution of disease in animals. So simply we can say it is found in animals also, either in endemic form or either in epidemic form. Let's see problem statement of plague. Now plague, it is endemic in Africa, Asia and the Americas. Now what is the reason for endemicity in these areas? Because there are vast areas where wild rodents are mainly infected. So due to presence of wild rodents infection in vast areas of these regions, it is found in endemic form. Now regarding urban rural distribution of plague, basically it is a rural disease, but still outbreaks can occur in urban areas also. What is the statistical data related with plague? From 2010 to 2015, total cases reported, it includes 3,248. This is global reporting. We are talking about global cases of plague, and about 584 deaths have been reported. What about India? In India, in 2004, outbreak of bubonic plague has reported in Uttarakashi district, and during this outbreak total 8 cases of bubonic plague has been reported and 3 deaths has been reported. Let's see epidemiological determinants of plague. Agent factors. So name of agent is Yersinia pestis. Yersinia pestis, these are cocobacilli. These are gram negative, non-motile, and when they are stained with a specific stain known as Wesson's stain, it shows bipolar staining. So this bipolar staining by Wesson's stain helps in identification of Yersinia. Now where we can find these bacilli? So these bacilli are found in large number in buboes. Now what is meaning of buboes? Buboes means enlarged or tender lymph nodes. So in buboes we can find these, plus Yersinia can be present in blood. They can be present in different organs, mainly spleen, liver of infected persons. And if it is a case of pneumonic plague, these plague bacilli or Yersinia pestis we can found in sputum. So just to categorize it, you should not forget enlarged tender lymph nodes in bubonic plague. In pneumonic plague it is sputum, and others it's blood and it's viscera. So these are various places where we can find plague bacilli. Now regarding their virulence property, virulence property of these bacteria, it depends on their ability of toxin production. So whether they produces exotoxins or endotoxins. Now can we find these bacilli in inanimate or non-living areas or non-living part of physical environment? So if you recall, environment we classify as physical, biological environment, psychosocial environment, and physical environment it again includes air, water, soil, etc. So here the part of physical environment which is concerned with presence of Yersinia pestis is the soil, but it is not the soil present everywhere in the field. So if in the fields or if in the houses, nearby houses, rat burrows are present, so the soil which is present in burrows, so this soil, in this soil we can find Yersinia, and in this soil these Yersinia organisms, they are not only able to survive but they can multiply also. So there is another environmental part where we can find Yersinia other than patient. So initially we said about the cases or those patients where we can find these plague bacilli or Yersinia. In our inanimate environment, we can find it in soil of rodent burrows. What is reservoir of infection? So reservoir of infection, it includes wild rodents. Wild rodents, it includes field mice, it includes gerbils, it includes skunks, and it includes near about or rather more than 200 species of small animals. So you can see vast animals are present in our environment which can carry plague bacilli. Now, in what areas we can find these animal reservoirs? So they are found in mountains, they are found in deserts, they are found in forests, and they are also found in cultivated areas. So again this area is also large, and the number of wild rodents and number of small animals which are capable of carrying plague bacilli, it is also large in number. Now regarding India, what is the most important reservoir? So now if you can recall what we have talked about rodent, we classified them as wild rodent and domestic rodent. And in wild rodent, I told you to remember one important name, that is Tatera indica. So Tatera indica, it is the wild rodent which is one of the most important reservoir of plague in India. So in wild rodents, there are different animals. It can be mice, it can be gerbils, it can be skunks. But most important thing is Tatera indica. So remember name Tatera indica. What is source of infection? Source of infection, it includes infected rodents and fleas. So infected rodents, all those rodents which are infected, or plus the fleas, rat fleas which are infected. So in fleas, we will see details of fleas under the title vector of plague, and it can be a case of pneumonic plague. So to recall, in agent factor, name of agent is Yersinia pestis. So these bacilli we can found in cases at in the blood or in various organs or in sputum in case of pneumonic plague. Then we can find this in soil, specifically it is the soil of rodent burrow, and there are various wild rodents and various small animals which are reservoir. Important reservoir in India is Tatera indica, and source of infection, it includes rodents, it includes fleas which are infected, plus it includes cases of pneumonic plague. What are various host factors? Host factors related to plague, it includes As far as age is concerned, plague is the disease which can occur at all ages. So all age group people, they are susceptible to plague. It is seen in males also, it is seen in females also. In relation to host, there are certain human activities which are playing important role in transmission. So it includes habit of people to go for hunting, then grazing of animals, cultivation, harvesting, various construction activities. Now, what happens that these sites, or because of these human activities like hunting, grazing, cultivation, harvesting, or construction, so here there is possibility of increased contact between man and between infected flea. So, more contact, more possibility of transmission. Now, what is the role of movement of people and occurrence of plague? Now, when people move from one area to other area, definitely there is possibility of transmission of plague, even at remote or at distant places also. So let the travel be by any route. So even it is by sea route, if it is by land route, or it is by cargo, or even if it is by jet travel. So whatever mode of transport is there, by all these route, plague may get transmitted. Now regarding immunity, human beings do not have natural immunity for plague. For plague, the environmental factors which are involved, it mainly includes season. So in certain parts of India, plague shows seasonal pattern, and specifically that season is known as plague season. So this plague season mainly we can found in northern India. So in northern India, there is plague season. Now, what is meaning of this plague season? Basically, this season is from September till month of May, and from month of May onwards, what happens? These rodents, they closes themselves inside the burrows, and they start feeding on the food reserves or the stored food in the burrows. Again, what happens, from mid of October, they activate themselves, they become active, and they start transmission of plague. So this is the scenario seen in northern India, okay, where we said about plague season, which can be from September to May. Whereas, what is the scenario in South India? In South India, there is no definite plague season. Cases can occur throughout the year. What is effect of temperature and humidity? Now, temperature of 20 to 25 degrees Celsius and relative humidity of 60% or above, it is favorable for the spread of plague. So whenever in our environment temperature range will be between 20 to 25 and humidity will be 60% or above, definitely this will favor transmission of plague. Now, what is effect of rainfall? So heavy rainfall has important effect. Now what happens during heavy rainfall, the rat burrows may get, they tend to flood. So this heavy rainfall is responsible in certain areas for non-occurrence of plague, and due to heavy rainfall, basically Bengal is the state which is free from plague. Now regarding urban and rural areas, there are certain areas in India where environmental conditions are not favorable for the vector rat flea as well as other vector, that is human flea. So for these fleas, environmental conditions are not favorable in Chennai and Assam. So again, these are the areas where plague is not seen. Now, what is role of housing and presence of plague? So, poor housing conditions are associated with presence of large number of rats and rat fleas throughout the year. So, these houses where we can find rats also, and we can find rat flea also, and this will contribute more to the transmission of plague. We said about plague, it is the disease which is transmitted by infected fleas or infected rat fleas. Now, what are the fleas that are playing major role in transmission of plague? So, it includes three important rat fleas and one human flea. Rat fleas, it includes Xenopsilla cheopsis, Xenopsilla astia, and Xenopsilla brasiliensis. Human flea is Pulex irritans. Regarding these fleas, just now we discussed in detail, but again I would like to remind you, a male flea as well as female flea both can bite and can transmit infection. Now here, blocked fleas, they are playing important role in disease transmission, or we can say they are the most effective vector of plague. Now, why this is so, and what is the role of these blocked fleas? Now, whenever these flea take blood meal, they can ingest 0.5 cubic mm of blood, and when they ingest this amount of blood, so there is possibility that they may carry near about 5000 plague bacilli along with blood meal. So these bacilli, when they enter into the gut, they start multiplication. So this number is huge, and when they start multiplying, their number further increases, and this causes block in the stomach, or stomach is also known as proventriculus. So the proventriculus or stomach of flea is blocked. Now these flea, because of obstruction, they are not able to carry blood to the stomach. So what happens, they feel hungry, and as they are feeling hungry, they repeatedly try to bite, and they will try to take more and more blood meal from the host. So their violent and quick attacks to take blood meal. Now this mainly contributes to the spread of plague. So this blocking due to multiplication of plague bacilli inside their stomach, and they are feeling hungry, and as they are feeling hungry, there is obstruction which is not allowing blood to enter into the stomach. They will bite repeatedly, and this plays important role in transmission. Now this blockage, it can be partial or it can be complete. If fleas are completely blocked, so their life is shorter and they won't play major role in disease transmission. But if they are partially blocked, so partially blocked fleas, they have longer life, and such fleas are playing important role in disease transmission. So now what we can say, plague, to recall, plague, it is zoonotic infection caused by Yersinia pestis, which is transmitted by infected flea bites to humans, and effective vector is partially blocked infected rat flea like Xenopsilla cheopsis, Xenopsilla astia, or Xenopsilla brasiliensis, and sometimes Pulex irritans. So what is human plague? This is zoonotic disease which is of bacterial origin. So plague, it is caused by bacteria known as Yersinia pestis, and it is transmitted mainly from rodents to human by bites of infected rat fleas. Again, these rat fleas can be wild rat fleas or they can be commensal rat fleas. Very rarely, human to human transmission can occur, and this can occur due to human flea Pulex irritans, or pneumonic plague can spread by droplet infection. So what are clinical characteristics of plague? Once human acquires this infection, three important clinical forms we can see. It includes bubonic plague, pneumonic plague, and septicemic plague. I repeat, it's bubonic, pneumonic, and septicemic plague. Regarding epidemiology, already we had discussed it, but let's have quick review. Causative agent is Yersinia pestis. Reservoir of infection in India, most important reservoir of infection is Tatera indica. And what is Tatera indica? It is wild rodent. But in addition to this, there are more than 200 small animal species which are capable of transmitting plague. Now, what is source of infection? Source of infection, it includes infected rodents, infected fleas, and in addition to that, it also includes cases of pneumonic plagues. Now, plague, it can occur at all ages. It can occur in males as well as in females. Specific human habits of hunting, grazing are important, which increases contact of human with rat flea. At the same time, movement of people by roadway or by land or by cargo, which is very essential as far as transmission of plague at distant places is concerned. Now, regarding environmental factors, I hope you know plague season in India, specifically north part of India. So, northern India, we can find plague season, and this season is from September till May. At the same time, in Bengal, you will very rarely find plague, and this is because of heavy rainfalls which tend to flood into rat burrows. And at the same time, plague is most commonly found in those dwellings with poor housing standards, where these are the areas which are favorable for rodents as well as for rats. And most important environmental conditions which are favorable for transmission of plague, it includes temperature range 20 to 25 degrees Celsius and relative humidity of 60%. And vector of plague, in general, you can say it is rat flea, but you must know at least one name, Xenopsila cheopsis. And other fleas, it can be Xenopsila astia, it can be Xenopsila brasiliensis, and very rarely it can be human flea, that is Pulex irritans. Now, whatever these fleas are there, blocked fleas which are most effective in transmitting plague infection. I hope blocked fleas, you can recall these blocked fleas. Blocked fleas are those fleas inside their stomach. These plague bacilli are multiplying and they are causing blockage. And as a result of blockage and obstruction, they are not able to take their feed. So, or rather, blood is not able to enter into the stomach. So, they will repeatedly bite the human, and this favors transmission of plague. Now let's see in detail mode of transmission of plague. How plague is transmitted. Now humans, they can acquire plague by three different ways. So one of the way is due to bite of infected rat flea. So as we said, this infected rat flea, it can be Xenopsilla chiopsis, Xenopsilla astia, or it can be Xenopsilla brasiliensis. Or sometimes people may have direct contact with infected animals or with infected animal tissues. So this direct contact can also transmit plague to human. Now third mode of transmission, it is from man to man. So if you can recall that chain of infection, three important chains are there. So first is of reservoir or source of infection, middle chain is mode of transmission, and next chain is of susceptible host. So here in first chain, source of infection is case of pneumonic plague, and last is again human, and middle chain is droplet infection. So a case of pneumonic plague can spread plague to other human host by droplet infection. And very rare mode of transmission is again from one plague patient to another susceptible host. It is by bite of human flea, or it is by bite of Pulex irritans. Now there are 5 basic types of transmission cycles we can see in plague. So this transmission cycle, again you are supposed to imagine the chain of infection, and what first chain will include, what second chain will include, and what third chain will include. So try to understand all 5 transmission cycles in this chain. So in first transmission cycle, the part of first chain is commensal rats. So commensal rats are domestic rats or peridomestic rats. So what are names of these rats or rodents? These mainly includes Rattus norvegicus, Rattus rattus, or it may include Mus musculus. Then middle chain is of rat fleas. So from these domestic, peridomestic rats, these rat fleas may carry infection to man. So man is in third chain, and rat fleas, as you know, Xenopsilla, and very rarely these can be Pulex irritans. So this cycle, it is specifically seen, this transmission cycle, that is from commensal rats to rat fleas and from rat fleas to man, it is mainly seen in epidemic bubonic plague, or the bubonic plague which occurs in epidemic pattern. Now the second transmission cycle. So here first chain, it includes wild rodents. Second chain, it includes wild rodent fleas, and third chain, it includes man. So now in this chain, disease is directly transmitted from wild rodents through wild rodent fleas to man. Or there is one more possibility that human may have direct contact with wild rodents or wild rodent tissues. And as you know, one of the important reservoir in India is Statera indica. So this is most important wild rodent reservoir in India. Third transmission cycle. Now third transmission cycle in first chain, it includes wild rodents plus it includes commensal rodents. And commensal rodents, as you know, they can be either peridomestic rodents or they can be domestic rodents. So with their names, Wild rodent is Tatera indica. Peridomestic rodent is Rattus norvegicus, and domestic rodents is mainly Rattus rattus or Mus musculus. This is first chain. Now middle chain, it includes wild rodent fleas or it includes commensal rodent fleas. So these are the rodent fleas which we can found on feeding on Tatera indica, or these are the fleas which are feeding on Rattus norvegicus. Now these fleas plus the fleas which are feeding on Rattus rattus. So these fleas can transmit infection to man. So third chain is man. So simply this chain, it includes all types of rodents, all types of fleas. So from wild rodents as well as from commensal rodents, infection is transmitted. But ideally what happens, wild rodents which are suffering from plague infection is transmitted to commensal, that is domestic or peridomestic rodents, and human generally acquire infection from domestic or peridomestic rodents. So this is third transmission cycle. Now in fourth transmission cycle as well as fifth transmission cycle, it is related with man. So first chain is man and last chain is also man. So in fourth transmission cycle, first chain is man. So it is a case of plague. Then middle chain is of human flea. Now the infection from plague patient will be transmitted by bite of human flea, that is Pulex irritans. And next susceptible host is man. So this is man to man transmission via human flea called as Pulex irritans. And fifth transmission cycle, where there is no involvement of fleas or rodents. So this is only man to man transmission. So man to man transmission, it is seen in pneumonic plague cases. So first chain is case of pneumonic plague. Now next susceptible host is man and mode of transmission is droplet infection or respiratory transmission. So these are 5 different transmission cycles that we can see in transmission of human plague. So to summarize, we can just say man can acquire infection either from wild rodents or from commensal rodents, or infection may be transmitted from wild rodents to commensal rodents and then to man, or there can be man to man transmission either through droplet infection in cases of pneumonic plague or either through bite of human flea, that is Pulex irritans. Now let's see what is the clinical picture of human plague. What is incubation period? So incubation period is variable depending on the clinical form. As we said, human plague may get manifested in 3 clinical forms, which can be bubonic plague, septicemic plague or pneumonic plague. So incubation period is very short for pneumonic plague, which is 1 to 3 days, and for bubonic or septicemic it is 2 to 7 days. Now what clinical picture we can find in these 3 forms? So let us first discuss with bubonic plague. Now whatever these 3 clinical forms are there, most commonly found type of plague is bubonic plague. So this is most common to occur, or whenever plague cases will occur, majority of cases will be of bubonic plague, and this plague, it is acquired by bite of infected rat fleas. Now what happens when these rat fleas bite? During this process of biting, they inoculate plague bacilli, and generally bite of site is lower extremities, but they can bite anywhere. So after entry of these plague bacilli or after inoculation of plague bacilli, these bacilli they multiply in regional lymphatic glands. So very soon patient develops fever. Fever is associated with chills and headache, and patient complains of pain in lymph glands or lymph nodes. So painful lymphadenitis is one of the most important characteristic feature of bubonic plague. So fever associated with chills and painful lymphadenitis. Now very soon patient develops the most important or the characteristic feature of bubonic plague, that is development of buboes or formation of buboes. Now what is meaning of buboes? Buboes means lymph nodes are enlarged and they are tender. So this is tenderness at lymph nodes and enlargement of lymph nodes. Now which lymph nodes are affected? So it depends on the site of bite. So where flea has bitten, depending on that, lymph nodes will get involved. So as we said, commonest site of bite is lower extremities. So in majority of cases, the lymph nodes in the region of groin are most commonly affected. But if it's upper extremity bite, there can be involvement of axilla or neck. So here the thing that you should try to understand is characteristic feature is bubo, where there are enlarged and tender lymph nodes, and the site of involvement of lymph nodes depend on the site of bite by flea. Now regarding transmission already we have discussed. So whether a case of bubonic plague can transmit infection to human? What is possibility? What do you think? These cases of bubonic plague are not able to spread infection. So no human to human transmission is seen in bubonic plague. What is the reason why this happens? Because these plague bacilli, they are locked up in the lymph nodes or in the buboes, and they do not find exit easily. So that is one of the important reason why these cases are not able to spread the disease. So you can imagine, like now we are in lockdown period, and though we are having desire to move outside, to go outside, we are having restrictions, so we cannot leave our houses and we cannot go outside. So same way, these plague bacilli, they are locked up in buboes and they do not find their exit. So that's why these cases of bubonic plague are not able to transmit plague infection to other human host. So no man to man or no human to human transmission is seen in bubonic plague. Next clinical form is pneumonic plague. So whatever cases of plague occurs, primary pneumonic plague is very rare to occur. So we can very rarely see primary pneumonic plague. Now how pneumonic plague occurs? So generally it occurs as complication of pneumonic plague, as complication of bubonic plague, or as complication of septicemic plague. So near about less than 1% cases can present with pneumonic plague. And one thing to remember, or if you compare case of pneumonic plague with case of bubonic plague, as we said, the cases of bubonic plague are harmless, so they won't spread infection to other persons. But cases of pneumonic plague, they are infectious, and by droplet infection, plague can spread from these cases. So dangerous, these cases are dangerous in community. That's what we can say regarding pneumonic plague. So don't forget this differentiation between bubonic and pneumonic. Bubonic is non-infectious, whereas pneumonic is infectious. Now what about septicemic plague? So septicemic plague, again like pneumonic plague, primary septicemic plague is very rare to occur. The cases of bubonic plague may develop septicemic plague, or we can say it can occur as complication of bubonic plague, and rarely infection can be occurred accidentally in laboratory workers. So these are three important clinical forms of plague. So bubonic plague, don't forget, important characteristic feature is development of buboes, where plague bacilli are locked up. They do not find easy exit, and as a reason cases are non-infectious. Bubonic plague may develop two complications, which can be pneumonic plague or which can be septicemic plague. Out of this, the cases of pneumonic plague are highly infectious and they can spread plague to other humans, and spread can occur by droplet infection. How to diagnose the cases of human plague? So laboratory diagnosis is very essential for diagnosing these cases. So the sample which we can take, it includes sputum in case of pneumonic plague, or it can be bubo fluid in case of bubonic plague. Now once this sample is taken, smears are prepared, and these smears, they are stained by Giemsa stain or Wisson's stain. Now when this staining is done, if we find presence of bipolar staining, so if at two ends staining is found, so this is suggestive of presence of plague bacilli. So one of the tests which is done in laboratory is staining. Then second, we can go for culture. For culture test, sample can be blood sample, or it can be bubo fluid, or it can be sputum. So these cultures can be done. Now ideally, if outbreak of plague occurs or if epidemic of plague occurs, on the spot facilities should be available for culture, and these specimens should be inoculated into appropriate culture media and culture should be done. But if such facilities are not available, then these sample can be transported to the laboratory where culture facilities are available. But before transporting the sample, it should be transported in transport medium which is known as Carey-Blair medium. So in culture we can have two options depending on the facilities available, either on the spot culture or in the laboratory, where use of transport medium is essential before sending the sample to the laboratory. Now third thing is serological testing. So we can go for serological testing. For this, the sample which is selected is paired sera. So paired sera, as we are saying, it is paired. So we will have to collect sample twice. So this is blood sample which is collected twice. So first sample is collected during acute stage and second sample is collected during convalescent or recovery stage. So identification of antibodies will help in diagnosis of plague. In addition to this, animal inoculation test can be done, where inoculation is done in guinea pigs or mice, or immunofluorescent microscopy can also be done. Now let's proceed to prevention and control of human plague. So as we are saying, it's prevention and control. So few are control strategies and few are preventive strategies. So control strategies, it includes control of cases, control of rat fleas and control of rodents. Whereas preventive strategies, it includes vaccination, it includes chemoprophylaxis for the contacts and high risk workers. It also includes surveillance and health education. So let's see one by one. Regarding control of cases, the most important strategy that we must use is early diagnosis and treatment of cases. So first is early diagnosis, how cases are diagnosed. Now during epidemic, diagnosis is generally based on clinical grounds. So based on clinical presentation, the cases are diagnosed, and most important diagnostic criteria is cases presenting to you with sudden onset of fever associated with chill, and most important is presence of buboes or even with painful lymphadenitis. One more important observation in nature is very important. Now if in particular geographic areas or in particular region it is observed that rat falls or number of rats which are dying is increasing, so if such dead rats are found, this is most important warning sign, and this is suggestive that there is possibility of occurrence of outbreak of plague. So in our environment this observation is very essential. Okay, so whether number of rats they are dying, and they are dying increasing in number. So this is giving warning to us that this may result in occurrence of outbreak of plague. Now once such situation is there, once we find that on clinical background also that cases are occurring of human plague, now it is very essential to notify these cases to World Health Organization. So prompt notification should be done first to nearby local health authority and then to World Health Organization, and this is essential under IHR. IHR stands for International Health Regulations. So under IHR, one of the diseases which is included for international notification is plague or human plague. Now regarding isolation of cases and treatment of cases, now which type of cases we should isolate? So now base of this is very clear to you. As you know, bubonic cases, they are non-infectious, so there is no need to isolate these cases. So which cases you will isolate? Yes, these are cases of pneumonic plague. Now as we know, these cases can spread infection by respiratory route, so it is very essential to isolate cases of pneumonic plague. Now what is treatment guideline? Now as soon as cases are detected, immediate or prompt treatment should be started. So one should not wait till the results of laboratory are in front of you. So before that treatment should be started. Now if treatment is not initiated, mortality rate is very high. So it is 50% in bubonic plague, and in pneumonic plague it can be up to 100%. So regarding mortality, I would like to give you one important historical example of the person. Now all girls, you are taking higher education, and you know the person who fight for girls education in history with all the customs that are available that time, that girls should not take education. Yes, can you guess? Yes, she was Savitribai Phule. So Savitribai Phule is one of the eminent historical person who died because of plague. So what I want to say, if we won't initiate treatment promptly, mortality will be high. So to reduce mortality of plague, it is very essential to treat the cases without waiting for laboratory results. Now what are the drugs that can be used for treatment? So these drugs, it includes streptomycin. Streptomycin is a drug of choice for treatment of plague. So streptomycin, it is always given in injectable form. So twice daily injections should be given for 7 days to 10 days. Then another alternative drug can be given is tetracycline. Tetracycline is given orally, or sometimes combination of tetracycline or streptomycin can also be given. Now, if tetracycline, streptomycin, these drugs are not available, then sulfonamides can also be used. But remember, penicillins are not effective in treatment of plague. One more group of drug it can be used in the treatment of plague. It includes gentamicin. So gentamicin can be given intravenously. So its first dose which is given to maintain appropriate plasma concentration, it is known as loading dose. So loading dose of gentamicin is 2 mg per kg body weight, and after 8 hours it should be repeated, and for repetition its dose is known as maintenance dose, which is 1.7 mg per kg body weight. So no need to memorize all these doses. At least remember names of the drugs, that is streptomycin, drug of choice, tetracycline or combination of tetracycline streptomycin, and other drugs that can be used, gentamicin, sulfonamides, but no penicillins. Now one more thing in control of cases we should do to prevent spread, that is disinfection. So as we know, in cases of pneumonic plague, plague bacilli are likely to be present, or rather they are present in sputum. So disinfection of sputum or disinfection of various discharges or articles which are soiled by patient should be carried out, and disinfectant which we can use is 5% Cresol. So with the help of Cresol, disinfection can be done. Now as we said, this is the disease having higher mortality, or rather pneumonic plague can have a 100% mortality. So while handling dead bodies, appropriate precautions must be taken. So these dead bodies must be handled with aseptic precautions. Coming to control of fleas and control of rodents. So flea control, where we are supposed to use insecticides. Insecticides, there are of three groups. So we can use insecticides of organochlorine insecticides, organophosphorus insecticides, or we can use carbamates. So from organochlorine we can use DDT or BHC. It is 10% DDT and BHC that can be used. DDT is 10% and BHC is 3%. Plus from carbamates, carbaryl 2% can be used, and from organophosphorus compound, it's malathion 5%, it can be used. So DDT and BHC are organochlorine insecticides, and they are having their effect for about 2 to 4 months. Spraying is done especially when outbreaks of plague occurs. So spraying of insecticides is done, and while spraying it is very essential to give certain instructions to the people. So they must remove all their food stuff, then their eating material, cooking vessels from their houses. And this spraying activity, it should cover entire flooring area, plus it should cover bottom of the walls, and the bottom of the walls should be covered up to 3 feet height and even above that level. Okay, simultaneously one should pay attention to roofs also. So spraying should be done at roofs also. Spraying should be done at back of doors also. Now if there are mud houses, so such mud houses can have holes or can have cracks. So spraying should be done in these cracks also. Now nearby houses, if rat burrows are present, so these burrows should be sprayed with insecticide dust. Now, what area should be covered with such activities? So, if a case of plague occurs in particular area, so it's a radius of 5 miles. I'm saying it's 5 miles that should be covered for such activities. And once such activities are done, So this flea index, which already we have talked in rat flea, which can be a general flea index or which can be specific flea index, it suddenly drops down within 2 days to zero. So to reduce this flea population and to control plague, these activities are very essential. Simultaneously, we should go for control of rodents. So rodents control can be done by anti-rodent measures. So here we can go for sanitation measures. We can use traps. So trapping where bait is kept along with food, and the rats which are trapped, they are killed by drowning. Then we can use rodenticides, which includes zinc phosphide, barium carbonate, or we can use anticoagulants like warfarin, coumarin, etc. These are anticoagulant rodenticides. And most important activity for rodents is fumigation. Fumigation can be done by using specific equipment which is known as cyanogas foot pump. So where cyanogas is used for fumigation. For prevention, vaccination is done. So World Health Organization recommends vaccination only for prevention purpose and not for control purpose.
Regarding vaccination and other details like chemoprophylaxis, surveillance, epidemiological investigations, and reporting of a case of plague or a reporting of an outbreak of plague we will discuss in next upcoming session. Plague is bacterial zoonosis. It is caused by Yersinia pestis and it is transmitted by bites of infected fleas. Clinically, there are three types: bubonic plague, pneumonic plague, and septicemic plague. In India, the main reservoir of plague is wild rodent, and name of this rodent is Tatera indica. I repeat, it is Tatera indica. Source of infection of plague includes infected rodents, infected fleas, and cases of pneumonic plague. The vectors of plague includes different rat fleas like Xenopsila chiopsis, Xenopsila astia, Xenopsila brasiliensis, and rarely it can be a human flea, Pulex irritans. Out of these fleas, most common and most efficient vector is Xenopsila chiopsis. Both sexes of fleas bite and transmit the disease. Partially blocked fleas are more dangerous as far as transmission of plague is concerned. There are three main clinical forms of plague. It includes bubonic plague, pneumonic plague, and septicemic plague. The characteristic features of bubonic plague, it includes fever, which is associated with chill, headache, and the characteristic manifestation is painful lymphadenitis. And whenever the lymph nodes are enlarged and painful in bubonic plague, we call it as buboes. Bubonic plague may complicate and may lead to pneumonic plague and septicemic plague. Primary pneumonic plague and primary septicemic plague are rare to occur. Human to human spread of plague can occur, and it can occur only from cases of pneumonic plague, and transmission is by droplet infection. Point to remember: in bubonic plague, lymph nodes are enlarged, tender, and painful. These are few examples related to 2-mark questions. Thanks for watching this video.